Hi everyone, welcome to Kim's Cozy Corner. It's time for us to talk about what seeds we're going to start this year, and this video is going to focus on cool season crops. Let's see what all we're going to get into for this upcoming year. Hi everybody, welcome back. We are in it's getting ready to be our 4th year in the garden with you on YouTube. And I always like to start out with telling you what I'm going to plant for the year, what varieties I'm planting. You'll be able to see what companies I'm purchasing my seeds from and all of that good stuff. Today, I am focusing on cool season crops. But there are 2 different types of vegetables that I will not be discussing today because I've already done videos on them. And the first one are onion. So we will be starting onion seeds. Here's a picture of the cover of that particular video. We've already started our onion, and so I went ahead and did a video just on onion seeds. And if you're interested in that, there's a picture of the cover as well as links below. So onions we won't talk today because we've already talked about onions. The other one that we're not going to talk about today is herbs. We just released a video on herbs, how long it takes for them to grow from seed and all of that kind of stuff. So we will not be talking about herbs today. And most of your herbs you can start, or they're considered cool season or perennial or whatever. But that video is already out there, so we're not going to talk about that today. And here's a cover of that video as well. So if you're just looking through all of my videos, you'll be able to see that cover and know exactly which video to look for. But now we are going to talk about all of the other cool season crops that we are going to start this year. The first one that I'm going to start with, and y'all, I got my little seed starting journal with me. I have a vegetable reference page in this seed starting journal that has a lot of really good information in it. And I want to share that information with you as I talk about each of those vegetables, if I remember to talk about it. The first type of cool season crop we're going to talk about are leafy greens. Now, I am not talking about lettuce. I grow probably 50 different varieties of lettuce. I'm not going to talk about all the different varieties that are out there. When I go to plant some lettuce, you'll know, and I'll bring you with me as I'm planting lettuce. So lettuce is another one of those cool season crops we're not going to talk about today. When I say leafy greens, I am talking about the kind that you can cook. So the first leafy green or green that we're going to talk about are collard greens. Collard greens, one of my favorite greens. I like it because it doesn't take so much to get a messing, if you know what I mean. So I like to grow plenty of collard greens. I actually preserved collard greens. Usually I just blanch them and put them in the freezer, but to free up freezer space this past season, I pressure canned a lot more greens than I normally do. So we need to grow plenty of greens so we don't have to buy any from the store. Now, when it comes to greens, you can direct sow directly into the garden, which I do quite often, or you can start from transplant and put them in the garden, or you can direct sow into the garden. And you can direct sow like up to 4 weeks before your last frost because your greens like a light frost. It makes them a little sweeter. So don't think that your greens can't handle the frost. It can handle the frost. So you can plant them up to 4 weeks before that last frost. And if you're using the square foot garden method for your leafy greens, I think you can put about 4 per square, depending on what type you're growing. If you're doing the square foot garden method, if you're using that method. Some of them will survive even in the summer if you give them some evening shade to keep that hot evening sun off of your greens. My collard greens usually last all season. my turnip, mustard, some of those other greens, they don't make it. So I plant them the earliest, and then I have to kind of shut it down, and then I bring them back in the fall. So the first collard green that we're going to grow is a Morris Heading collard green. Now this pack I got from Azure Standard. Here's a picture of what they look like. Morris Heading collard greens used to be my favorite collard green. They didn't get as big and leafy or meaty as the Georgia Southern collard green, but they melt in your mouth. And I always pick my collard greens when they're younger and more tender anyway. And Morris Heading collard green has always been one of my top favorite collard greens out there. So the Georgia collard greens, we will be growing it as well. For the Georgia collard greens, again, it's a more meatier collard green. They get a lot bigger than the Morris Heading collard green. But for all of the collard greens, y'all, I cut them and they keep growing. I don't pull it up from the root. I cut around the outside edges and I let it continue to grow all season long. In addition to those two, we will also be doing Champion collard greens. Champion is becoming one of my close second favorites. Champion is a type of vat collard green, is what people are telling me. It says right here, an improved vat variety. It has a lot of flavor and it has a longer shelf life. But y'all, once I cut it, wash it, I cook it or I preserve it. So it doesn't matter about the shelf life for me. Anyway, it melts in your mouth, if you know what I mean. Champions are quite delicious. A few years ago, I had some seeds that were mixed up, but now that I got the right seeds again, I'm loving it. So those are the only 3 varieties of collards that I will be growing. And so that's the Morris Heading collard greens, the Champion collard greens, and the Georgia Southern collard greens. But that's not all of the greens I'm going to grow. There are plenty more greens we are going to get into this year. And the next green that we're going to get into, y'all, is kale. Kale, y'all, I'm actually growing kale right now as a microgreen, and I've never done that before, so I'm super excited about that. We are going to grow a dwarf blue curly kale. And some people love kale, some people hate kale. I like to mix my kale with my collard greens because of a texture. They're closer in texture as a collard green. So I like to do a lot of mixing with that. My kale, my collard greens, all of my greens, y'all, I will grow in a GreenStalk. I will grow them in my raised beds, and I'll also grow them in containers. So I will throw some collard or any kind of green anywhere. Kale lasts all season in my garden as well. Like my collard greens, is one of the few things that will last all season when it comes to the greens. The other one that I'm going to grow is the dinosaur kale. I didn't grow any last year. My family wasn't crazy about it because I was trying to mix the kale with like turnip greens and mustard greens and that kind of stuff, and it's a different texture. Now that I've mixed my kale, when I'm doing mixed greens, I mix them with greens of the same texture. So collard greens and kale will get mixed together if I'm mixing greens. So those are the only 2 kale varieties that I'll be growing this year. And y'all, there's a red Russian kale. There's so many different kales out there. It's just not one of my family's favorites. So I have to mix it in with some of the other greens. Unless they start getting into this microgreen. If they get into that, then we might be in a different place. The next green, and so now I'm getting into some of the greens that don't hold up so well when it gets super hot. And so the next one that we're going to grow are turnip greens. The first turnip green that I'm going to talk about is the purple top white globe. And y'all, I grow turnip greens for the greens, not for the turnips. Y'all, I don't like turnips. I don't like them. But some of the people we provide summer vegetables for do. So I enjoy the greens and I give them the turnips. And so the purple top white globe turnip is one of the earlier ones that I can get out in the garden. And again, 4 weeks before the last frost, y'all, we can be out there. But I plan on being out there with plants where I can on some of these versus direct sowing so I can get an earlier harvest. Purple top turnip greens are 55 days to harvest. But again, y'all, I'm not harvesting the turnip. I want the green. So as long as the green stems and leaves are big enough, y'all, they're mine and they're coming inside. The other type of turnip green that we're going to grow is called the 7-top turnip green. Here's a picture of it because the pack doesn't have it. It's something I picked up off of YouTube or off of Amazon. But the 7-top turnip green, you're actually eating it for the greens and not for the turnip itself. And so you're not really trying to harvest that turnip. You are taking leaf after leaf after leaf of the greens. And my family loves turnip greens, but you have to plant a lot of them to get a messing. To get enough for your family to eat, you have to plant a lot because when you wilt them down, they really wilt away, unlike collard greens and unlike kale. So that's the 2 types of turnip greens that I'm going to grow. Y'all, and I'm still going with greens. We still going. The next green that we're going to grow is a mustard green. Y'all, I love to mix a mustard green with some turnip greens. And from a texture standpoint, they're super similar. And that's a different type of mixed green for me. But we're going to do the Southern Giant. It's a curly one. And this is the one I typically grow anyway. It's one of my family's favorite. I grow it in the spring and then I start again and I grow it in the fall. Last year, I didn't put that much up of the mustard green. I don't know. I don't know why. Either we ate so much, I didn't have enough to put up, but I remember getting plenty of a harvest. I know in the spring, it got hot so fast, they started bolting pretty fast. But I was able to get a couple harvests this past fall, but I was planning for a wedding, so I wasn't really paying that close attention to the garden. I need to make sure that I put more in the garden, probably late August, early September, so I can harvest through September and October before the weather gets too cold. Again, they taste better with a frost. They are sweeter. We are also going to grow this other mustard green. It's called Chinese Giant Leaf Mustard Green. This past season was the first time I grew it. Y'all, it never got that big. Mine did not get that big at all. It didn't. But it still had a very good taste, and I mixed all of my mustard greens together, so it was really good. I just wish I had more of them. And this one, it says it can get real big, y'all. It says it can reach up to 3 feet long and 1.5 feet wide. Not mine. Mine was, yeah, that didn't happen for me. But it's still a really, really good mustard green. Now, there's one other green that I'm going to grow, and probably just because I have the seeds, y'all, and I want to give it a try. It's not something I would have typically purchased on my own, and that's tatsoi. Now, I had some of these seeds once before. They never germinated for me, but I got these seeds from a different vendor, and they were free seeds, so we're going to give it a try. Tatsoi. It is a cool season Asian green is what it says, and it's related to bok choy. So we're going to roll that one as well. And so that's it for my, oh, I missed one. And the one other green that I'm going to grow is RAPE or something like that. Here's a picture of it. I grew it this past season for the first time. I have been trying to put my hands on these seeds, y'all, for years. And then I ended up getting enough seeds to last me for 20 years. So we were able to enjoy some of those this past season. It's also another good one to eat completely by itself, or you can eat it mixed in with like your turnip and your mustard greens. A lot of people use it as a cover crop, and I've also heard that it's used as a crop to feed their livestock and that kind of stuff. Y'all, I grew up on this. My grandparents used to grow it all the time, and I just love the taste. It puts me in the mind of something between a turnip green and a mustard green, but when they all together, y'all, it just tastes so good. And I didn't think my daughter was going to eat any, but y'all, that's why I didn't put any greens away. She ate too many this past season. That's what it was. Miss Charlie ate too many greens. But y'all, that's it for my greens. Remember, 4 weeks before your last frost, you can start putting them out. They like a light frost, and they're sweeter once they have a little frost on them. So don't try to plant these in the middle of your summer season. You're going to have issues. You're going to have to plant them in the spring, or depending on where you live in the world, right? Your spring is winter or your summer is winter and vice versa, right? But you want to plant it when it's cool because they will bolt when it's hot. Or you want to start them from seed when you're ending your summer season, and so you can grow them through your fall and your winter. So that's the greens. That's the leafy greens we're growing. So now I'm going to move into my brassicas, the rest of my brassicas, because I believe collard greens is a type of brassica, I believe. I could be wrong, y'all. Don't hold me to that. But I'm going to move into the rest of my brassicas. So I am going to first talk about broccoli, and I'm holding an empty seed pack. Y'all, I took all of my broccoli seeds and I put them in my microgreens, but the broccoli seeds are on the way, but we still can talk about it. So for broccoli, you can actually put them outside 5 weeks before your last frost. 5. And broccoli, y'all, typically you are transplanting. They do better with transplant. So typically. And they take 10 to 12 weeks to be ready to be transplanted. So y'all, you might be wanting to start your broccoli plants now. We'll be starting some very soon here in the next few days. But anyway, so for broccoli, I'm going to be growing 2 different types of broccoli. I am going to be growing, and both of them are from Gurneys. I'm going to be growing the hybrid premium crop, and here's a picture of it right there. It's 55 days to maturity. And the reason why I like this one is because after you get that center head, you can continue to harvest side shoots. Y'all, my broccoli lasts all season long, but it's all around how you place it in your garden. If you have no shade whatsoever, you're not going to be able to do that, okay? You're going to need to shade your broccoli from the hot evening sun. If you do that, your broccoli will last longer than you expect it to. And if you plant enough, those side shoots add up to a meal as well. So the hybrid premium crop, 55 days to harvest. It takes 10 to 12 weeks to get ready to be transplanted out. This pack says start indoors 4 to 6 weeks before transplanting. But then you're transplanting a teeny little bitty plant. I prefer to transplant out a larger plant. And broccoli, you want a larger plant so that you can harvest faster. So this is 4 to 6 weeks. I typically start 10 weeks, not 4 to 6 weeks. But play around with it, see what works best for you. I'm in an indoor grow space. Everything is growing super fast for me, so I probably could back off, right? I probably don't need 10 weeks, but y'all, we're gonna start some broccoli here in a minute. But it does say, move your broccoli to the garden once they are 6 inches tall. So it's saying you want your broccoli to be at least 6 inches tall before you put it in the garden. So however long that takes, you know you'll be ready. The second broccoli that I'm going to be growing is the Gurneys Blue Ribbon. It might be a Gurneys only exclusive seed, I'm not sure, but it's called Blue Ribbon. One of the 2 of these, y'all, and I don't forgot which one it is, but one of the 2 of these plants stays shorter. It doesn't get as tall, and I think it's the Blue Ribbon, to be honest with you. I just don't remember it. This pack doesn't say, and I don't have the other pack, but one of the 2 stays a lot shorter in stature, but you get tons and tons of side shoots on both of these, and they have a nice central head in the beginning before those side shoots start coming in. And I don't mean little teeny little side shoots, y'all, nice side shoots. So those are the only 2 broccoli seeds that I'll be starting this year for outdoors. Then we're going to move into cauliflower. Cauliflower is just like your broccoli, y'all. So if I look at cauliflower, where is it? Same thing, about 10 weeks it says here before you plant outside. And it says that you can put them outside as early as 4 weeks before your last frost. Now, cauliflower can be finicky, especially in my neck of the woods. The issue with cauliflower is that, at least for me, where I live, it's cool and wet, and then it's hot and dry. There's not much in between. So for my cauliflower, it was doing really, really well. And then it hits, we go from, an average of 60 degrees to an average of 80 degrees, and it just can't handle it. The last few years, though, I have been able to grow cauliflower. And with the broccoli as well as with the cauliflower, I grow it in my raised beds. I've grown it in pots and containers, and I have grown it in my green stalks before. So don't sleep on your green stalks being able to grow some of these larger plants. For the cauliflower, I like to have a nice sized plant before I get outside. And be careful with your seeds. Your cauliflower, your broccoli seeds, your cabbage seeds, y'all, they all look alike. You'll get them all mixed up like I did, and you think you're growing one thing and it's another. So just be careful with your seeds. Now, I am going to grow several different varieties of cauliflower this year, and I'm going to have some fun. That's the whole point, is to have some fun, y'all. So for the cauliflower, I am going to grow some quick early hybrids. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm going to grow a Snowball Y improved. So this is going to be a hybrid. I got it off of Amazon, y'all. So, I don't know much about this particular supplier. This is year 2 or 3 that I've been growing these seeds from this seed pack. So they've been holding up very well. This particular one is self-blanching. It's snow white, it says. And it says the head can get up to 8 inches wide. Now, y'all, I've never grown a cauliflower head that big, and it could just be because of where I am in the country. I didn't say this, but I am in zone 6B. I'm in Southwest Ohio. We got finicky weather. One year, it's blizzards all the time. The next year, we don't even have a winter. So it's kind of hard to tell with where I live. It says it does better in the fall than the spring, but we are going to try to get some in the spring as well. That one doesn't say how many days to harvest. Not that one. The next one that we're going to do is an early white hybrid. Now this one's from Burpee's, and here's a better picture of it, because when you order seeds off of Burpee's website, typically they don't have the pretty pictures on it like the ones you get out the grocery store, if you know what I mean. So for this one, it's an early white hybrid. It says that you can harvest 52 days after transplanting. And again, it says the heads can get up to 9 inches across, y'all. Never had that. Never had that happen. It also says that you should start 8 weeks before transplanting outdoors. And again, remember, you can transplant outdoors about a month before your last frost. So some of the things to keep in mind. The next white cauliflower that I'm going to grow is called White Corona. And the picture will be just to the side of me here, White Corona. It is how many days? You can harvest 30 days after transplanting, y'all. 30 days. This is the fastest harvesting, or fastest to harvest? Quickest to harvest, quickest growing, you know what I'm trying to say, cauliflower that I've ever grown. Now, the head stayed small, y'all. They were a much smaller head of cauliflower, maybe 4 or 5 inches across, if that. They tasted really, really good. Oh, it also says that if you're starting these indoors, make sure you harden them off very well before you put them in the ground, because they need to be accustomed to the outdoor temperatures and the sunlight and all that kind of stuff. And that is true with all of your plants that you start indoor. You need to harden them off. That's it for the white cauliflower. And then I'm going to also grow a flame star cauliflower. And here's a picture of it. I think I'm getting those seeds from Burpee's this year, or Gurneys one. I can't remember. But you can pretty much find it anywhere. It's a hybrid. It's an F1 hybrid. But y'all, it's got that orange cheddar looking color to it. I grew it last year in my elevated raised bed. My MIGardener elevated raised bed is kind of like waist height. And I grew 2 or 4 of them in there, and they did amazing. And I'm out of seeds right now. I'm waiting on the seeds to get here. And then we're going to grow something that's going to be super fun for us. I've never grown this before. I just happened to be in California last year, and I saw this cauliflower growing, and I wrote it down so I could make sure that I got it. And it's called Purple Sicily. There it is right there. It is so pretty. And it says the heads could weigh upwards of 2 to 3 pounds. You know, we'll see. We'll see. Now, it says that it has a sweet flavor, but it cooks to bright green. So it's not going to be white when it cooks. It's going to cook to a bright green. It is an Italian heirloom, so I'm expecting this to take a little longer before it's ready to harvest. And Baker Creek, typically on their packs, it doesn't say how long to harvest. So that's it for the cauliflower and the broccoli. The next one I'm going to talk about is Kohlrabi. And y'all, I planted Kohlrabi last year. I didn't show any of the harvest, and I don't know why I didn't show the harvest. And it's not in my book either. So I'm like, what did I do with them? Did I just give them away and not bring any indoors? I don't remember cooking any. I remember them being in the garden. But anyway, we're going to grow some more. And I put them over at the neighbors. I know I did. But anyway, we are going to do the white and the purple Kohlrabi this upcoming season. Y'all, it's good. The texture was a little different for my family to get used to. Well, my girls won't eat it. Right? They eat vegetables, just not all vegetables. They're finicky like that. We're going to grow some more this upcoming season. I'm going to try to grow a few more. I gave some to my family friends who had never had it before. And they were like, what am I supposed to do with this? And so they cut it up and ate it very similar to turnips. And they actually mixed it with the turnips, and they said it was good. So, and that was 2 years ago, though, not last year. That was 2 years ago. And then we're going to move to Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts, y'all. I just harvested Brussels sprouts 4 days ago in January in my garden, in my Zone 6 Southwest Ohio garden with ice on the leaves. We were able to get a small harvest. And y'all, my Brussels sprouts, I started them in one location, and then as I was working on redesigning the garden, y'all, I pulled them up and transplanted them to another location. And y'all, I still got harvest off of those. So Brussels sprouts are probably the most cold hardy plant I grow. It's been through snow, it's been through ice, it's been through the hot summer sun as well, because I plant in spring and I don't harvest until late summer and then fall and winter. So we are going to grow, oh, I didn't tell you about Brussels sprouts. Hold on one second, let me tell you. It says 90 to 110 days to harvest, and they taste better after a light frost. And you're probably going to want to give it some protection in the middle of summer when it's super hot, or shading when it's super hot. But anyway, the first one we're going to talk about is the improved Long Island, and it's from that same company on Amazon that I purchased these seeds from a few years ago. It's growing, so I'm happy. Improved Long Island. There's a picture of it right there. The next one that we're going to grow is my Red Darling. Yep, Red Darling hybrid. Now this is from Burpees, and here's a picture of it there. And I harvested more red Brussels sprouts than the traditional colored Brussels sprouts for the last 2 years. Last year, same thing. I was able to harvest the red longer than I was the regular Brussels sprouts, but they both did very well in my garden. So that's Brussels sprouts. Y'all, guess what? I'm still not done. I'm still not done. I am moving on over now into different types of cabbage. Cabbage is probably one of the easiest cool season crops for me to grow when I pay attention. I'll just put it that way. As long as I'm paying attention and I don't let those cabbage worms take over, I usually do pretty well with cabbage. Same thing with the broccoli. Those cabbage worms will try to get to the broccoli pretty quickly. But for my cabbage, I can put it out about 5 weeks before the last frost as well. And again, it needs about 10 weeks prior to putting it out, because you want to make sure you have a nice, substantial plant to put out so that you can get a harvest faster. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is bok choy. And I've grown bok choy before. I didn't harvest hardly any bok choy this past season, but here it is, bok choy. And you can harvest bok choy in about 40 to 50 days, y'all. It's really, really good. Now, my girls won't eat it, but my mom will eat it. I'll chop it up and just a little butter, a little salt, steam it up. Quite delicious. Now, it wilts down to not much. So one thing to keep in mind is that it's going to wilt way down on you. In addition to the bok choy, let's go ahead and talk about Chinese cabbage next. I like Chinese cabbage. My mom likes it, but it wilts down a lot more than the traditional cabbage that we grow. For the Chinese cabbage or Napa cabbage, which is another name for it, it has barrel heads. And so I'm going to do the Hilton this year. And so you see it has that nice barrel head. The Hilton isn't a big fat barrel head. It's more compact. It's a slimmer barrel head. It says that I should plant them at least 15 inches apart. I don't. For all of these things that I'm talking about, I use the square foot garden method, and I can put one plant per square. This one is considered a medium-sized barrel-shaped head and is densely packed. So Hilton has always done well for me in the garden. The other one that I'm going to grow, y'all, I can't tell you what it is because it's in Korean. I don't know. For those of you who don't know, my daughter went to university in Korea. She went to Yonsei University in Korea. And so we have a flair for some Asian vegetables. When I saw this Korean variety of Napa cabbage, it looked good, but it looks like the really large barrel heads. I can't read it, so I can't tell you much about it, but there it is. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to come back, and we're going to finish going through all of these cool season crops that we're going to start this year. Okay, y'all, hopefully you're hanging in there with me. So we're going to move into the cabbage. We're going to finish talking cabbage, I should say. So before I move into traditional cabbage, the other one that I'm going to grow is called Bilko. Here's a picture of Bilko. It is an F1 hybrid as well. It's this large, densely packed, barrel-shaped head. Now, y'all, I got these seeds back in 22. We will see if they germinate for me. This one, just like the Korean one that I can't read because it's not in English, I'm expecting massive barrel heads, but I have a ton of folks who's interested in cabbage this upcoming season. And I want to can cabbage soup. I just canned some ham and potato soup and some chicken and potato soup. And y'all, it's almost gone. And I did like 4 or 5 jars of each, and it's almost gone. And it was super, super good. So I'm going to try to do more pint-size soups so that I can have a nice meal versus calling takeout when I don't want to cook. Now I am finished with all of the barrel-shaped head Napa cabbage. Now we will move into the traditional round head cabbage that we're used to seeing. Well, mostly round. One of the first ones that I'm going to do is Golden Acre. Here's Golden Acre right here. And Golden Acre, it was a smaller head, 65 days to harvest. I have grown this in my GreenStalks multiple times at this point. It says to start these, maybe I didn't tell you that, it says 10 weeks before. Now this seed pack says start 6 to 8 weeks before. So 6, 8, 10, 12, whatever you feel comfortable in doing. Just know you don't want long, lanky plants, right? You want a nice plant, but you don't want it to get long and lanky and leggy. So if you start seeing that happen, you might want to get it in the ground sooner rather than later. I'm going to do all of the round-headed cabbage first. The next one I'm going to do is a late flat Dutch cabbage. There it is right there. This one is about 100 days to maturity. And y'all, the whole point of having different varieties of all of these different things I'm growing, I could grow one variety, right? I could grow one, but what if it's a pack of seeds that don't germinate? Now I've waited too long, so that could be an issue. Or what if that's the particular one that gets some type of disease and dies out in the garden? Or if I plant them all at the same time, they all come in at one time and then I'm stuck. So I like to grow different varieties with different days to maturity so that the harvest comes in all season long without a whole bunch of succession planting. So for example, the golden acre is 60 to 65 days to harvest, but this late flat Dutch is 100 days to harvest. And I can plant them out at the same time, enjoy all of my golden acre, and then late in the season, now it's time to start enjoying the late flat Dutch. Just something to think about as you're trying to decide on what varieties you want to grow. You can grow the same variety in stagger and succession plant, or you can find early maturing, mid-season maturing, and late season maturing varieties so that you get something all season long without all that extra hassle. All right, the other round-headed cabbage that we're going to try to grow is stonehead. And y'all, I'm going to be honest with you, I have never had good luck growing this one. I've tried many times. It's 67 days to harvest. Here's a picture of it because it came from Gurneys, and there are no pictures on Gurneys. Gurneys is it's a seed company. Well, they do seeds, they do plants, they do trees, they do a lot of different things, but they're in Southwest Ohio. They're just south of me out of Cincinnati is their main headquarters, I believe. Oh, no, this says Indiana. It says this is Greendale, Indiana, even though they got a Cincinnati phone number. So we'll let them figure out where they really are. It's still my neck of the woods. Indiana, Cincinnati, Southwest Ohio, Southeast Indiana, still all the same area. Stonehead is a hybrid, 67 days to harvest. I don't know much about it because I haven't been able to get it to grow, but it says that it's very resistant to splitting. And a lot of times if you get too much water at one time, if it's really dry and it gets too wet, your cabbage heads will split open. So it says it's resistant to that. And it produces short cord, tight packed, 4 to 6 pound heads, very heavy for their size. Well, if I ever grow any, I will let you know for sure. The next one that we are going to grow, these cone-shaped heads, we are going to do, I don't have any seeds? No. Is that one seed in there? No, there are no seeds in there. Okay, we won't be growing that one. Let's set it to the side. So one of my favorite cabbages to grow is the Early Jersey Wakefield. Early Jersey Wakefield. It is one of my favorites. It's 60 to 75 days to harvest. Again, it tastes better with a light frost like anything when you're talking cool season crops. This one has been around since the 1840s. It's fast maturing, which I would agree is true. And it says that heads grow slightly pointed, which I call the cone-shaped heads. And then it says it can reach 15 inches tall and 6 inches across while maintaining resistance to splitting. I've never had one grow quite that big, but they are usually a pretty tight head and very good. I mean, it's probably one of my better growing cabbages in the garden. And it says it's great for soups and salads. So I want some cabbage soup. The other one, so that's Early Jersey Wakefield. And then I'm also going to do a Charleston Wakefield. So they are going to look very similar, but this one is 70 to 85 days, where the Early Jersey is 60 to 75 days. So you see the difference, 60 to 75, 70 to 85. So we can be eating cabbage that's like this from 60 days all the way up to 85 plus days. The Charleston Wakefield, what else does it say about it? Compact heads with deeply crinkled, rich green leaves. Its flavor is mild and subtly sweet. And then the last cabbage that we're going to grow, y'all, is for fun. I saw it and I'm like, ooh, that's pretty. Let's try it. And so, and y'all, some of these seeds, y'all, I got a while back and I just been holding on to them. But here it is right here. and I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but it's an heirloom cabbage, and it originated in northern Italy. And it has these violet colors, y'all, and I think that's going to be pretty. So the violet colored is wrapped on the outside, and it has yellowish, greenish leaves on the inside. So I'm hoping we'll get to experience this one. But I think it's going to be quite delicious. If nothing else, it's going to be pretty. All right, that's it for cabbage, y'all. We're going to keep moving on. We're going to move into root crops now. And the first root crop that we are going to talk about, because I'm not going to talk about purple globe, or what was it? Purple globe, white top turnip greens. I'm not going to talk about those because I grow those for the greens. I'm going to talk about things that we are truly growing for the root. And so beets are first. And y'all, I don't like pickled beets. And I've tried to pickle beets. They were quite disgusting. I've had sliced beets before. These are juniper beets. And I grew them. They did beautiful. I didn't like them though. They did beautiful. It says it doesn't transplant well. The recommendation is to direct sow your beets, but you can put your beets out 3 weeks before your last frost. So by the time they're coming up and they're getting happy, you're already past that frost stage, y'all. And you're going to put 16 beets per square so you can plant these fairly close together. But y'all, I didn't like them. I didn't like them. Juniper is a deep red beet. It says it's tender and you can harvest it early for baby beets. It's got that earthy taste to it. To me, it tastes like dirt. I'm sorry, I don't like them, but my mother does. And so I am growing beets for my mom, and a few other people I'm growing for said that they like beets. So that's why we're growing this juniper beet. In addition to the juniper, y'all, we are going to grow a golden beet. Golden beet. I got this pack from Azure Standard. Here's a picture of what the golden beet looks like. And y'all, I like that one. That one tastes good. I had someone, a chef, come in and prepare a meal last year for a very special occasion. She prepared beets and radish and a whole bunch of other things mixed together, all kinds of root crops mixed together. And I kept eating this golden something. And I'm like, ooh, this is so good. What is it? And she told me it was a golden beet. I almost fell out my chair because I thought I didn't like beets. I didn't like that red stuff, but that golden beet was quite delicious. The red beet is about 50 days to harvest. This golden beet is 55 days to harvest. And it didn't taste like dirt, y'all. It was sweet. And it was kind of subtly sweet, but it didn't taste like dirt. And the texture was fine for me. It's been around since early 1800s, if not earlier, is what it says here. It's rich, golden yellow, and it says very sweet. And it says the greens are also tasty. Now, I've never had beet greens. We might try that. Since I don't like the red beets, maybe we'll try the red beet greens this upcoming year. Those are the two beets that I'm growing. But I'm putting this other one in the same family as my beets because we're also going to do a golden ball turnip. Golden ball turnip is from Azure Standard. Here's a picture of it. And yes, y'all, it's a turnip, but we're growing it for the turnip because guess what? That was the other thing that the chef mixed in with that golden beet that was so good. It was the golden ball turnip, which was absolutely amazing. So I picked these seeds up after she fixed that meal for me, and I really did enjoy the taste. It says it's excellent. That's what it says on the back. Excellent. Some of the best tasting turnips out there. And y'all, it was good. It was good. I ate those turnips like I've always liked turnips, and I don't, but I like this turnip. It says these 3 to 4 inch roots are perfectly shaped amber globes. They're sweet, mellow, and smooth. And I think that's what I liked about it because it was a smooth, the purple top turnips. I don't like the texture of it, but this I do like. And it says it's never woody. So those are, I'm putting them all together with beets. I know one says turnip, but I'm putting them together as my beet root crops. Those are the 3 I'm growing of those. And then we're going to move into radish. For radish, I'm not really crazy about a lot of radish. I'm the only one in the family that eat radish, but I have friends that love them and my neighbors love them. So we will be doing purple plum. Radish, we are going to start from seed, completely from seed. We will not be starting these and transplanting them out. From a radish standpoint, 3 weeks before your last frost, you can start sowing these outside. Purple plum is 28 days to harvest. Your radish plants are super fast, right? You can do succession, succession, succession. Like every month, I mean, you can plant every week or two and you'll have them coming in all spring long. They're not going to grow very well for you when it gets super hot, but they will grow for you all spring long. We're going to also do the cherry bell radish. I got these seeds from GreenStalk a long time ago, and we're going to grow them as well. I don't know much about it. Only thing I know is that the little red radish was super red and it was a perfectly round little ball. It was really pretty. So we're going to grow that one again. French breakfast. I got it from Azure Standard. Here's a picture of French breakfast. This was probably one of the first radish that I realized that I liked. I could chop this one up and put it in a salad and it wasn't overwhelming. Some radish some people say they're spicy. It's not really spicy, but it got a little kick to it of some kind. But I can slice it up, put just a little bit in my salad, and it just takes that salad up to another notch. It's definitely less than 30 days to harvest. It doesn't say on the seed pack. And it's a favorite of home gardeners is what it says. But then we get to the radish that I do like. And this is the Korean radish from that same online Amazon company. Here's a picture of what it looks like. It is a daikon radish. That's what it is, a Korean daikon radish. I find it to be a little sweeter than traditional daikon radish. And they can get big, y'all. This year, I let them go to seed. I wasn't really paying attention. I did harvest a few. They mix them, my family friends mix them with the turnip greens, or with the turnips, not the greens, with the turnips. But the year before that, y'all, I grew a ton of these and I made Korean radish kimchi. So radish kimchi, I think is what you call it. And I followed a recipe for it, right? I did it the way you're supposed to. It wasn't quick. I did the fermenting. I did all of that. It was really, really good, but I was the only one eating it. So I haven't grown or I haven't made any more since, but it is one of my favorite radish. They get really, really nice size and cut them up and enjoy them. And they're sweet, not spicy like some of these other radish that we were talking about that some people call them kind of spicy. This one was super sweet. So that's all of the radish. Now we're nearing the end of our cool season crops. The next crop that we're going to talk about is sugar peas or snow peas, whichever one you want to call it. I don't eat them. They start off sweet and then they taste like grass to me, but my daughter loves them. So I always create one small area in the garden for her to enjoy. When she's outside playing, she can swing by, pick her some sugar snap peas up, eat the pods out of them or eat the whole thing and go off and keep playing. And I know that she's eating her greens and her vegetables. This is 68 days to harvest. Sweet peas, which again, we don't really do a lot. You can plant those 5 weeks before your last frost. 5 weeks, y'all. It doesn't transplant well, so you want to plant the seed, direct sow the seed about 5 weeks before the last frost. But once it gets super, super hot, y'all, they're not going to be happy. Now, I usually leave mine in place all season because I just never go back and put something else in that space. I also grow these vertically on a cattle panel trellis. And this is the only one we'll be growing. It says it's sweet, crisp snow pea with about 28-inch vines. So it doesn't vine and go crazy. It's only about 28 inches. And the pods are 4 to 4.5 inches, in size. So nice, compact, perfect for Charlie. I don't know. Alicia may start eating it again too. I don't know. I hope she does because she needs to eat her vegetables. The last thing from a cool season crop that we need to talk about. This is the last cool season crop, is carrots. Now, I grow a lot of different varieties of carrots, and sometimes they do well, sometimes they do horrible. Good seasons and bad seasons. So I didn't grow enough to put up. We did grow enough for fresh eating, but not enough to can. And I do need to can carrots because when I'm making these amazing meals, y'all, I want to be able to put carrots in these meals. And I don't want to have to buy it from the store. So this upcoming season, I want to freeze some carrots and I want to pressure can some. I prefer to freeze them because I can freeze them and they don't have to cook for a long period of time and they still have time to cook on the stove and they won't be mushy. So I'm going to do some both ways. But I'm growing about 8 different varieties of carrots, I think, about 8. The first one is the Shin Carota. I am doing a seed bundle with GreenStalk, and this is one of the seeds in that bundle. It's a heat-resistant, high-moisture, deep orange carrot. It says it's one of the sweetest you will ever eat, and it's great for storage. And so I'm trying to think about storage as well. I want them to last as long as possible in the refrigerator or on the counter, wherever I'm going to put it, so that I can get enough together so I can freeze or can or whatever. Carrots you can put outside 3 weeks before the last harvest. They don't transplant well. So we will definitely be direct sowing all of the carrots. These carrots have tapered roots and they get about 5 inches long, which is perfect for a GreenStalk. And they are already growing in my indoor GreenStalk right now. One of my old faithful carrots is the St. Valerie. I've been growing St. Valerie now for several seasons. The St. Valerie is tapered as well. It's 75 to 85 days to harvest. That first one is 75 days to harvest. Carrots are slow to germinate, so let me say that. If you are going to sow carrots outside, you have to keep that soil moist. There's a lot of different ways to do that. Some people put leaves on top of it. Some people put a piece of wood on top or a straw or something to hold that moisture in. You don't want to let them, get moist, right? You water, they're moist, then they dry out and you water again and then they dry out or they'll never germinate. So you want to make sure that you're keeping them nice and moist when you're trying to get them to germinate. It says that they can get up to 12 inches long. I don't think mine has ever gotten that big, but it's always a nice sized carrot. It has a tapered end as well. The next one that we're going to do is Envy. And here's a picture of Envy. And these came from Gurneys. And this is a 66 day to harvest. It's an orange carrot. It can get up to 12 inches long. It's a bright orange tabletop carrot is what it says. The next one we're going to do is Corral, however you say it. This is an Old Faithful as well. I've been growing it for a long time now. It's 75 days to harvest. It can get between 8 and 9 inches long and it resists splitting even when grown in heavier soil. Now we have heavy clay soil here, but I grow in Fox Farm Happy Frog, which is a potting soil. So I don't deal with a lot of heavy soil, but it's good if you did have heavy soil that you were dealing with. The one carrot that I really, really want to do well is my Rolanka. Rolanka. I don't know how you really say it. Here's a picture of it. I got it from Azure Standard. And here's a picture of one of the best ones that I grew last year. And it has a nice size and it's a good storage carrot. My issue is I only got a handful. I didn't get enough to do anything with, but I didn't pick the seeds up until late in the season. So we will be starting these first chance we can get outside to start them. And I'm hoping that these become my star player in the garden for storage carrots for this upcoming season. And so now we talked about the carrots that I want to freeze and that I want to can and I want to store and I want to last. But y'all, we got to grow some carrots for fun, right? We got to do some that's just for fun. So we're going to do this red carrot right here. And I'm already growing this indoors. And it says that they're slender roots and they can get anywhere from 12 to 18 inches long. I grew one or two of these out in the garden and they were like this big, y'all. They were too slender, but I think I just had them in a bad spot. I don't think I really gave them a chance to grow. Now it says that they have a sweet flavor. You must plant it in late summer and fall and winter. It says it's not good for spring planting. I don't know why, but that's what it says. And I didn't plant these in the spring. I didn't start planting them until summer. So my fall harvest is when I was trying to grow them. And now we are going to talk about purple dragon. Here's a picture of purple dragon. And it says sow in June or July, full sun in loose soil for late summer and fall crops, not for spring. So this one's just like the other one I was talking about. Now this one, I got it from Azure Standard, is from Meadowlark Hearth Seeds. It's open pollinated. It's an heirloom. I don't remember seeing any of these seeds. They could have been in some of those slender ones that I harvested. I just don't remember because I was getting this one, this purple dragon. I think I was getting mixed up with these next two that I'm getting ready to tell you about. The next, Lila Lu Sang. Lila Lu Sang, 75 days to harvest. You see how it's purple on the outside and then it has that orange center. It's just pretty, y'all. That's why I got it. I'm like, okay, this is unusual. It's different and it's pretty. We're going to grow it again. And I did grow this one for fall harvest. And I was able to harvest just a few of these. It's a European carrot variety. It doesn't say much more about it than that. It's from Baker Creek. That's purple on the outside with orange on the inside. And then, y'all, I'm going to grow this one again. I think I got 2 carrots out of it this past season and that was it. But it's a tropical black carrot. It's from India. It's very heat tolerant. So it's a good one to get out in the garden. You don't have to worry about it splitting on you or anything like that when it gets super hot outside. Perfect for hot summers. So I am super excited about getting this one in the spring garden. I didn't have it last spring, so I couldn't plant what I didn't have. So y'all, that's it for the cool season crops for this upcoming season. I hope you found some varieties in there that's new to you that you might be interested in, as well as some old faithful that we all are going to be growing together. If you have any questions about any of the varieties I'm growing, if you send me an email, I can definitely answer it. If you put something in the comments, I will do my best to get to it. I just can't guarantee that I'll get to it. But that's it from a cool season standpoint. Stay tuned for part 2 for the warm season crops. So until next time, and I hope there'll be a next time that you hang out with me at Kim's Cozy Corner. Bye.